Can you see me? Hey. I went by Mom's today and I literally got her copy that I gave her years ago of the Torn Bell, since I never found mine after the move and everything, so. But I don't know if I ever told y'all this, but that's actually my granny and my pawpaw. He's got his WW2 uniform on. And Granny, she's absolutely so beautiful. She thought he was the bee's knees. Cat's meow, I think they said. But it'd be easier for me. What I want to share with y'all today, tonight, this evening, depends on where you're at, is what happened in November 1998. Premonition, warnings, dreams, God telling us things that we don't quite understand at the moment, and sometimes we just need to pay attention to our dreams. And sometimes dreams are just dreams, and sometimes they're not. Anyway, this is from Here Goes. Sorry, y'all. I'm not an expert. But anyway, I'm going to read y'all a little bit here. It's probably going to be a part 2. I'm sorry. But I can't spend another 12 hours trying to do this. But anyway, this is... I'll get serious now. Okay. In 1998, I lived in an upstairs apartment. I lived right across the hallway from my Aunt Phyllis and Uncle Claude, and they made me feel at ease because my children's daddy was always out of town and he was a truck driver. 1998 had been a bad year. My stepfather, Charles, had passed away, and Mom, it really devastated her, and they hadn't been married that long. Okay, hang on just a second. Don't want to read. Okay. The year was 1998. Something horrifying happened to me and my family. I had a dream, rather a nightmare, that I did not understand, but later on knew that God was warning me about the event about to unfold. The dream was strange as I found myself inside of a house I did not recognize. I was filled with fear as I ran through this unknown place. The house kind of looked like a house trailer. It was small, it was clean, you can tell it had been lived in. The furniture was very neat and it was well taken care of. I remember in the dream there was this old stove and it instantly caught on fire. Doing sound effects. And I knew I must escape from the trailer and fast. I ran through the place in a panic as impending doom completely set in. I glanced back to the stove and the fire was growing and starting to rage out of control. I do not know why. I just didn't run to the door and escape, but instead I ran straight to the living room. Sometimes we do things in our dreams that make absolutely no common sense. Sometimes we do that in reality. I could hear the fire burning in the kitchen area, and the smell of the smoke was filling my nostrils. I ran straight to the front window and panicked when I stood there staring at the bars on the window. I screamed as I pounded on the window, and I was trapped. It was like bars, on a jail cell. I could not get out, or burglar bars, I guess you would say. I turned around as the black smoke was bellowing into the living room. Now remember, I'm still in the dream. I then glanced over at a table that was against the wall. Upon the table was pictures of my family members that had already passed away. The pictures were beautiful and in antique frames. There were pictures of my aunts, my mama, my papa's mama, my stepdaddy Charles, Nanny, Granny's mom, and of course my dear sweet Granny, and my Uncle Bernie, Uncle Junior. He's the one that got hit by a train. Hit by a train. And WW2. Anyway, I'm banging on the window and I couldn't get out, and all of a sudden this young girl appeared, and in reality she was a friend. She was a child of a friend of mine that I would babysit from time to time, her and her 2 little brothers. The bars upon the window vanished right in front of me, and so did the glass. It was a wide open space. I could now escape from the fire. She reached inside for me and she took a hold of my hand to help me out of the window. She gently helped me out, and I stood there staring at her. She said something to me that did not make any sense at all. I think in this dream, this young girl for some reason, represented an angel that was watching over me. I turned my head to the right, and I saw a railroad track. And then I turned my head to the left, and there was an old dirt forked road. It kind of forked off. I started walking slowly towards the railroad tracks, and she started screaming, this young girl, "No, do not go that way." I looked at her and then over at the forked road. She did not definitely want me, for whatever reason, going towards those railroad tracks. So I walked past her towards the forked road. That was the end to the whole dream, and I had no idea what it meant until about 1 week later. I kind of think personally, I'm seriously sorry, y'all. I think personally that I don't know where I'm looking on here because the phone is sideways, and I guess, okay. I think she did not want me running towards the railroad tracks, and y'all will see in a few minutes that I think the railroad tracks, when she said don't go that way, and she was frantic, represented something else. I don't know what to look at whenever. Okay, let me go back here. Okay. I didn't think anything of it. I just went about my daily life with 3 young children. One night I was lying in bed with my youngest child, Brandon. He was 3 years old at the time, watching TV. My other 2 children, Desiree and Cameron, was in their room fast asleep. My cousin and her baby was sleeping in the living room. They were staying with us only temporary. It was about 1:30 in the morning when I heard someone pounding on the front door. I got out of bed and was slipping on something decent to wear to see who was at my front door. I heard in the distance my uncle, who lived next door, shouting. He was frantic. He was freaking out about something, and he was shouting my name, "Terry!" I assumed my cousin answered the front door because the banging stopped. I had no idea what was going on when I left and walked into the living room. My aunt and uncle from next door was screaming something about a fire, and we had to get out of the apartment now. There was no time to waste. I ran back into the bedroom to get my 3-year-old son, Brandon, and then I was going to get my other 2 children. But after I grabbed Brandon out of bed, then I ran into the hallway, but my Aunt Phyllis picked up my son, Cameron, and carried him out of the apartment. My cousin picked up her newborn baby, and she ran out of the front door of the apartment. I thought they had gotten my daughter, Desiree, who was about 10 years old at the time. Okay, 9 years old at the time. So I assumed Brandon and I was the only 2 people left in the fire. I stood there staring for a split second at the thick black smoke bellowing through the open front door. My 3-year-old was at my side, and I was holding onto his little hand very tightly. I had to stop the smoke from coming into the apartment. I mean, it was just bellowing in for as long as I could. When they say the smoke gets to you before the fire, they're not joking. The smoke burns your lungs and pulls the oxygen out of your body. It suffocates you and literally pulls the very life out of a person. And remember, it's back to reality when all this is happening. Approximately a week later after that nightmare, I ran to the front door and pulled my son behind me, who was not making any sound. He never did even cry. I think my baby boy was scared to death. I reached the front door and slammed it shut, and then I was going to make sure they had gotten my daughter Desiree out of the apartment. I was not about to leave until I knew everyone was out of there and safe. I ran towards the children's room as I remained clenching onto my baby's hand. I ran into the room and was shocked to see Desiree sitting up on her bed, rubbing her little eyes. I honestly had thought my cousin had gotten her out of there. I thank God I did not leave the baby girl up there, because she would have died. My baby girl would have died, no doubt. She already had lung problems from birth. The smoke would have took her out. It was a miracle from God that I did not panic. I should have had a complete panic attack. I knew what I had to do, and that was God, the power of God. Anyhow, remember Desiree's death, so I started signing. I told her what was happening. There was a fire. We had to hurry and get out of the house now. Get up. We have to leave now. And I took a hold of her hand. I knew what I had to do, and God and His angels was leading me every step of the way. I had to get my babies out of that fire, and now. I ran straight back to the front door I had slammed shut only minutes earlier. I quickly felt the door to see if it was hot or not before I opened it. I backed up some from the door and put my children behind me, and then I opened the door. The thick, hot smoke came rushing directly into my face, and I had to gasp for air as I slammed the door shut. What I didn't know at the time is that the stairs had collapsed and that my Aunt Phyllis and my Uncle Claude and my cousin and her baby and my son Cameron had just made it to the bottom of the stairs when they gave way. They all rode out of the door that was right in front of the stairs. A few seconds difference they would have all been crushed and dead. Also, if I would have ran out that door with my 2 children, we would have fell to our deaths. I had no clue those stairs were not there anymore because the smoke was way too thick and black. Another example of God's angels watching over us. If I would have ran out that door to follow everybody else after I got Desiree out of that room, we would have fell to our deaths. There were no stairs there. Everybody else barely made it. When they reached the bottom, they told me later, the stairs had collapsed. That was God making sure they got down. My Aunt Phyllis, which had Cameron in her arms, my Uncle Claude, he rolled out. Wendy, I think my cousin, rolled out with her baby. Everybody barely made it out. If we would have stepped out that door, we would have been dead. Anyway, premonitions, dreams, and warnings. God's always watching over us. Well, that's the end of part 1. I'm sorry, y'all. There will be a part 2. I hope you're still interested. God bless. Never give up with what you're facing. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Keep on keeping on.